And I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you. And we're going to switch to the, whoops, click the wrong button there. Let's, what have I done here? Something's gone wrong. Okay, let's try again. Sorry about that. Okay, good. This is what I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to look at declare a play at trick one. Very often, the success or otherwise of a contract depends on what you play at trick one. And sometimes it's a matter of taking advantage of what the opponent's lead against you. So let's have a look at a few suit combinations and have a look at this one. So let's imagine this could be no trump or it could be a suit contract. Let's assume it's no trump. And imagine the opponents have led the 4 of spades and dummy's got the queen 3-2 and you've got the ace 10-5. So maybe they've led the 4 of spades on opening lead against a no trump contract. And your first decision here is what to play from dummy. And very often in a situation like this where you've got honors in one or both hands, it can be, you can use the lead to your advantage. And what you should play here when you've got the queen 3-2 in dummy is, generally speaking, play low. If you make the error of playing the queen, then what may happen is that your right-hand opponent might play the king and you can beat it with the ace, but now you've just got the 10 left and you may not make a trick with it. So generally speaking, if the layout was something like this, you can see that now you're probably only going to make one trick with the ace, because when the 10 is played, they can beat that with the jack, and you'll probably just make one trick. It was probably better on this one to play low from dummy, and a couple of good things could happen. One thing is that your right-hand opponent might play the king anyway. Then you would beat the king with the ace, and you've got a second trick with the queen. But let's suppose they don't play the king. Let's suppose they play the jack of spades. I've got the first poll of the evening, which is, what do you think you should play from your hand? So the 4 of spades was led. You played low from dummy. Your right-hand opponent played the jack. Are you going to beat this with the ace, or are you going to play the 5? So here comes the first poll of the evening, and the question is, what should you play from your hand? And we've got slightly different graphics now. That's interesting. The majority here have gone for the 5 of spades, and 41% went for the ace of spades. So let's switch back and see what we think. Well, let's see what happens if you play low. Well, if you play low, you may only make one trick in this suit, because if the layout is something like this, then if the jack wins the trick, they will lead this suit again. And now, if you play the 10, it will lose to the king, and you'll make one more trick because the ace and the queen will fall on the same trick. Or if they play the 9, if they lead the 9 and you play your ace, that will probably be your only trick, because now they've got the king, which will stop the queen from making a trick. So the majority of you on this one, I'm sorry to say, gave the wrong answer. The best play here is to play the ace. And if we think about it, if you beat the jack with the ace, now the only other honor that's still out is the king, and you've got the queen and the 10, so you will make a second trick. Okay, so the right play there is actually to beat whatever your right-hand opponent plays, whether it's the jack or the king. And if you beat the jack with the ace, you will make a second trick. So do have a look at this again if those majority of you who didn't get the right answer, or if you disagree with that, you can speak up now and we'll have another look at it. But it is right there to play low from dummy and beat whatever the opponent plays, whether it's a jack or the king. Here's a sort of common situation here. They lead, say, the 5 of spades. Again, assume this is no trump. And you've got the king in dummy and the queen in your own hand. And generally speaking, with 2 honors like this, it's best not to play the king. Just play low. I mean, one of 2 things could happen. One possibility is that your right-hand opponent might play the ace, in which case that gives you 2 tricks straight away. Or even if they don't play the ace, they play the jack, for example, you can beat it with the queen, but you still might make a second trick. So if the layout is something like this, I hope you can see that you're likely to make 2 tricks there, first with the queen, and then later on you may make a trick with the king. It is a stopper. If the ace is on your left, you should make a second trick there, or at least prevent the opponents from running that suit. Okay, do let me know if you have any questions about this. Let's try this one. And this time you've got the 10-2 in dummy and the ace-jack-3 in your hand. Again, let's assume this is no trump. And I've got the second poll of the evening. What are you going to play from dummy, the 10 or the 2? And slight majority have gone for the 10, and 45% went for the 2. And I'm sorry to say, most of you are wrong again. Let's look at how this goes. Let's assume you play the 10 here. Well, what will likely happen is that your right-hand opponent will play the king or the queen. And while you can beat that with the ace, that's probably going to be your only trick in the suit, because you've got the jack there and the king is still out, so you'll probably just make 1 trick. What happens if you play low? Well, if you play low, well, of course, if your right-hand opponent doesn't play the king or the queen, you'll win a trick with the jack and you'll win a second trick with the ace. But let's suppose they play an honor, the queen or the king. The next poll question is, what should you play from your hand? Should you play the ace, the jack, or the 3 here? So they've led the 4 of spades. You played low from dummy. Right-hand opponent played the queen. What are you going to play? The ace, the jack, or the 3? That's the third poll of this evening.
Tony, you said it made no difference whether this was against a suit or no trump, but surely it does make a difference.
Okay. Well, let's look at the results from this and then we'll discuss that point.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a look at the results. And 73% went for the ace this time, and 27% went for the 3. And let's switch back and have a look. Well, yes, most of you are right this time. Let's think about it. If we play low, what's going to happen is that they'll win the queen and then presumably return this suit. And now we're probably going to make 1 trick. It's probably the case that if the king of spades is on our, if the king of spades is on our left, then if they play low and we play the jack, that will lose to the king, and we'll only make 1 trick. Or if we play the ace. But we can guarantee 2 tricks from this suit combination if we beat the queen with the ace, because now we are left with the jack and the 10, and there's only one other honor out, which is the king. So we should make a second trick with one of our with the jack. The 10 will force out the king, and we'll make a trick with the jack. To answer Isabel's point, it can make a difference in some situations, like, for example, in the very first one, if, for example, they lead the suit and you decide not to play the ace, because you might, if it was a suit contract, play the ace if you were worried about there being a ruff or something like that. But I mean, in this situation, this holding, for example, this will be exactly the same if the opponent's if you're playing it in a suit contract or in no trump. The same thing applies. So the important thing is there with you've got equal honors, the 10 and the jack. So play low, second hand low, and then if they play an honor, beat it with your honor, and that will guarantee a second trick for you. So with equivalent honors, generally play second hand low. Let's have a look at this one here. Let's assume that this is no trump again. And this time they've led the 3 of spades. And you need to think about what that might be. It's not absolutely clear what you should play from dummy here, because your opponent on your left might have the king and queen of spades and might have led their 4th highest. In that case, it would have been best to play the jack, probably. But let's suppose you decide not to play the jack. Let's suppose you decide to play a low card, and your right-hand opponent plays the king. And I've got the next poll for you, which is, what are you going to play from your hand? Let's assume this is 3 no trump, although I think it applies even in a suit contract. The question is, what do you think declarer should play here? And the majority here have gone for the ace, 55%, and the rest of you played the 2. One person went for the 7. So let's switch back and see what we think. Well, what do we make of the lead? My opponent on the left led the 3, and certainly if this was a no trump contract, that's presumably their 4th highest from their best suit. And it means to me that they almost certainly have the queen in their hand. So it works out much better if we beat the king with the ace. If we think about it, if we beat the king with the ace, now, if you imagine that your opponent on the left has got the queen, your jack of spades is going to make another trick, or it's going to be a stopper. Okay, the layout could easily be something like this. And of course, having won the trick, you're not going to play this suit yourself. But if either opponent at some point leads a spade, you will make another trick with your jack. So very often when you're weak in a suit, like suppose all you had was the ace-7-2 and you just had low cards in dummy, then it would be right to duck. That would be using the rule of 7. But because of the jack in dummy, it changes things. And it actually works out better to beat whatever your right-hand opponent plays, as the jack is very likely to be another trick and another stopper there. Okay. Just think what would happen if you play low. So if you let the king win the trick, then what's going to happen is they're going to carry on with that suit. And now you're only going to make one trick, because if you play low, they'll play the queen, force out your ace, and the jack will drop together, and you'll only make one trick there. But you're likely to make 2 tricks as long as the queen is on your left, which is likely after that opening lead. So just to summarize, with points we've covered, with honors in both hands, it's often right for declarer to play second hand low. It's sort of a bit similar to the defense rule for playing second hand low, but different, because as declarer you can decide what you want to do. And it's often right to cover an honor with an honor. So
Tony,
yeah.
Can we just go back to that last one, please?
This one. Yeah. Oops. Is that the one?
Surely in the second hand, you shouldn't play the jack, but you should play the 9.
Okay.
Otherwise, East is going to play the 8, and they're going to
Yeah.
make an extra trick.
Yeah, you're right. So I think that's a good on this layout. That's right.
Well, I mean, but in any case, you should do that because the leading the 3 almost certainly promises the queen. You
yes,
don't know where the 10 is, so
No.
you may as well play the 9. It loses you nothing.
yes. I think you're right. Yes, I think it was it's probably a good idea to play the 9 from dummy, and then that will definitely force out the king. And you're right on this layout. If your right-hand opponent, if you play the 5 and they don't play the king, they just play the 8, then that would force out your ace. So you're right. Certainly on this layout, that would be a good idea, and perhaps generally too. So yeah, thank you for that observation. Let's have a look at actually some hands where we're looking at all 4 hands together, and let's have a look at this one where you open 1 no trump and North raises to 3 no trump. So 1 no trump here, we're playing weak no trump, 12 to 14 points. And let's suppose they lead a heart. So this is very similar to the layout we were looking at just now, where you've got the jack in dummy and the ace in your hand. And if you play low here, or if you were to play the 9 as well, and they play the king, then it's much better for you to win this one with your ace. The lead and the fact that he's played the king there makes it very likely that the queen is with West. And if that's the case, you should beat that with the ace. And now whoever gains the lead when they win the ace of diamonds, if they lead a heart, that's very likely to give you another trick there. So if you look at this from Declarer's point of view for a minute, you can see you've won the ace of hearts. Apart from that, you've got 2 spades and 4 clubs. So you're going to go after diamonds here. And the problem is the opponents will get in and can shift back to a heart. So if you start off with clubs, you might cash 4 club tricks. But eventually you're going to play a diamond, and you have to keep playing diamonds, and they will get in with the ace of diamonds, east or west. You don't know who's got it. But if we look at the 4 hands now, we can see that if West now gains the lead with the ace of diamonds, if they lead a heart, your jack of hearts is protected. So they can take a heart, but now your jack of hearts is making a trick, and you can also take your remaining diamonds and a heart at the end, and you'll make 11 tricks here. Just see what would happen on this hand if you didn't beat the king. So again, if you played low here and they played the king, if you let that king win the trick, well, they will probably carry on in this suit, force out your ace, and now you can play as before, take your clubs, and then try and cash your diamonds, but they will get in, and West, of course, can now run the hearts. They will take the queen and 2 more hearts, and they will hold you to 8 tricks, whereas you made 11 tricks before if you beat the king with your ace. Do interrupt me if you have any questions about that. So that was an example of really having to think about what you can deduce from the lead, think about where the queen of hearts is likely to be, and you can see that it gives you another stopper as long as you don't play the jack from dummy, and as long as you beat the king with your ace.
Hi, Tony, it's Fiona.
Hello, Fiona.
It's the same as what Humphrey said before, though. Would it have been better to play the 9 from dummy to start with?
I think it would on this occasion, yes, because it's very similar to the last one.
Yes.
So I mean, the only time it wouldn't matter is if, for example, I had the 8 in my hand and the 9 in dummy, then there's no need to play the 9.
No, yes.
But yes, that would have been an even better play, because as you can see, if you play low and East plays the 8, that's a bit of an inspired play, but it would force out your ace indeed. So if that happens to you, maybe they're peeking at your cards. I don't know.
Thank you.
All right,
No,
let's have a
going
look at.
Going back to that one, the
Yeah.
10 and 8, if they were swapped around between East and West,
Yeah,
playing the 9, they'd take it with a 10.
yeah, that's right.
So
So it may not help in all situations, but
yeah.
on this layout, it could theoretically be a better play. Let's have a look at this one here, and this time again we're looking at plays at trick 1, and you open a weak 2 hearts here, 3 diamond overcall, and North bids 4 hearts, and we'll have a look at this hand and start by they leave the king of diamonds, and let's stop to make a plan on this hand and work out how many potential losers we have. Well, we'll look at it from the point of view of South, but taking into account all the strength in the North hand, and I'm going to say there are no spade losers, but we've got 1 heart loser, we've got 1 potential club loser, and we have actually 2 potential diamond losers. The ace will win a trick, but then we've got the 3 and the 2. So we start off with 4 potential losers. Now, we might be able to make a trick with a king of clubs, but the other way we can avoid a diamond loser is by roughing it. So if they lead the king of diamonds, you might have a natural urge to take your ace right away, but probably if you do that, they may find the winning defense. So let's suppose you win the ace of diamonds, and you need to rough a diamond here as the best chance to avoid that diamond trick. So you would probably lead a diamond straight back. And if you do that, let's bring up the 4 hands. It's really tipping off the defense as to what you're doing. And West wins that one with the 10 of diamonds, and will probably realize that you must have some diamonds you want to rough, and they can prevent that by cashing the ace and playing another heart. And now you've got a diamond loser that you cannot rough in dummy. So whatever you play now, it's quite awkward now to get back to your hand. You might play a club, you'll lose a club there. And when they play another diamond, you're going to lose that. So after this, you will gain the lead, and you can make the rest of the tricks, but they will hold you to 9 tricks. East West can make 4 tricks there. So was there anything you could have done about that? Well, it's not guaranteed to work, but one thing you could do is let them win the first trick. Now, West here, having won that, might realize that they should probably switch to a trump anyway here, because you may well have some diamonds that you want to rough. And also their partner didn't give them a very encouraging signal. So they may switch to a trump, which is the right defense here, but they may not. They may think, oh, we're on to a good thing, and maybe they'll play another diamond. Now you win the second trick, and now you're in an ideal position to play another diamond, which of course you're going to rough. In fact, your hearts in dummy are all high apart from the ace, which is out, so you can rough with the king, and now you're going to draw trumps, draw the opponent's trumps. They can cash a club when they get in, but you'll rough after that, and you'll make the remaining tricks, the remaining trumps, and the remaining spades. So it's a sort of very simple ruse, if you like. When the opponents lead a suit and you want to lose a trick and then rough, it can be a better idea for you to let them win that first trick rather than winning it and leading the suit back, which is a clear sign to them that what you're up to. They may not realize quite so readily if you let them win the king, and they may carry on in that suit, which is exactly what you want. And finally, let's have a look at this one. This time you open one spade, and here north is north-south of playing Jacoby 2-no trump. And so 2-no trump is showing support for your partner's spades, enough points for game. And it comes back to you, but you just rebid 4 spades because you're a dead minimum. And although you do have 6 spades, but you just bid 4 spades, and that ends the auction. And the opponents lead the 6 of hearts. And I'd like you to try and make a plan here. And I've got the last poll of the evening, which is how many potential losers do you think Declarer has here? So look at the suits one at a time and work out how many possible losers you think you might have. Now here comes the last poll. Look at what you've said. And most of you have gone for 4. 70% said 4, with others saying 3 and 5. And let's see what we think. Yes, I agree with you. We're not expecting to lose any spades there. We're going to lose 1 heart. And we have 1 potential club loser, the queen. We're going to try finessing perhaps when the time comes. And in diamonds, we have 2 possible losers. The king of diamonds may make a trick, but it may not. So depends where the ace is. And if it's on our right, we're going to possibly lose 2 diamonds, 1 club, and 1 heart. Yes, I agree with most of you. We have 4 possible losers here. And we could think in terms of finessing, leading towards the king of diamonds at some point. Or a better plan might be trying the club finesse, which might set up another club on which we can discard. Let's suppose they lead the 6 of hearts, East plays the king, and let's suppose we play the ace. Now, let's suppose we draw trumps first. So we play 1 round of trumps, and we're going to finesse in clubs, but strictly speaking, the best way to play the clubs is to try the play the ace of clubs first, just in case the queen was a singleton. It's not, so we draw the last trump with our ace. And now we play a club, and we're going to play the jack or the 10, and this time the finesse loses. So let's just bring up the hands at this point, and you can see that East has got in with the queen of clubs, and East will almost certainly lead back the suit that their partner led, which was a heart. So they'll lead a heart back. Your West wins that one with a 10. And now let's look at this from West's point of view. Well, West is not going to carry on with hearts here because there are no more in dummy, and will almost certainly switch to a diamond. The best diamond to lead is the jack of diamonds there, and that traps the king. So if you carry on with diamonds, the opponents will be able to make 2 diamonds there. After that, Declarer is going to ruff and will claim the rest, but will be held to 9 tricks. Is there anything Declarer could have done on this one? Well, it all goes back to trick 1 and to the realization of how you're going to play after you've drawn trumps. Because what you're going to do is you're going to finesse in clubs, and that will, if that finesse fails, East will be on lead. And East, although you're vulnerable in diamonds, East cannot attack the diamonds without giving you a trick. So what you can do on this hand is, instead of beating the king with the ace, let them win that one. Now, if they play another heart back, you win that one with your ace. And now things are much better because you play as before, maybe trying the clubs with the ace of clubs, then drawing the last trump. And then you try the club finesse, which fails, but East cannot get to their partner for them to lead a diamond. So in fact, if I click on the GIB button at this point, you can see that East cannot defeat the contract. In fact, they'll make an over trick unless they play a club or the ace of diamonds. So if they play a club, Declarer, of course, can win that, and now we'll be able to cash the king of clubs, discarding a diamond. And now Declarer only loses 1 diamond trick. So Declarer will lose that one, but will make the rest. So that was quite a tricky one, involving thinking about how you're going to play and how you're going to prevent West from leading diamonds. And it works out best there to let them win the first heart. They'll probably carry on in hearts, and now you can prevent West gaining the lead later on. If we go right back to the beginning, you can see that the defense can defeat this contract if they lead a diamond, for example, or if they lead a heart. There's a chance to defeat the contract, but otherwise you do best to try and keep West off lead so that they can't lead through your King of Diamonds. Anyone have any questions on that one or any of the others?